guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Heather, and on this channel we like to walk a very fine line between a shopping addicted makeup monster and a responsible adult with a makeup hobby. Now, I really enjoy eyeshadow singles, duochromes, multichromes, palettes, blush, highlight, bronzer, basically everything except pressed glitter. And today we're going to be ranking all the palettes that I tried in June. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick with me. We're getting into it right now. And so this month I tried out 14 different palettes, which is just like a mind-blowing number. But there were so many things that were coming out that I was like, yep, I want to try that. Yep, I'm going to need to try that. And by the time I got to the end of the month, it was 14. So most of these palettes I actually really do enjoy, but some I definitely enjoy more than others, hence the ranking. So we're going to start from my least enjoyable to my most enjoyable, and we'll see where everything ends up. Alright, so let's get into it. The first palette I want to talk about is this Spoiled Lips Cosmetics. This is the Romantic Getaway palette, and it is something that was included in the Tribe Beauty Box. Just dug my fingers into a couple of the shadows. Good for me. This was included in in the most recent Tribe Beauty Box. You have the choice between this one and more of a neutral one. So I went the pinky mauve one because why not? But what I found was that even though these shades have like more distinct color variation in the palette, by the time you get them on the eyes, these two shades looked almost identical and these two shades looked almost identical. So my attempt at doing like 4 different shades into a gradient on my eyes became like 2 shades. So for that reason, I'm not a huge fan. Additionally, there's a pressed glitter in here, which we all know I'm not going to use, and the one metallic that was in this palette was just kind of lackluster. So for me, this was kind of a fail. Okay, and I think all the rest of the 13 palettes that I tried out, I did like, but it just was a matter of how much did I like them, how much was I reaching for them. So the only one that was really like a quality and like enjoyability issue was this one, but everything else from here on out is pretty decent. The next thing to talk about is the Fatale Beauty Frankenslay palette, and it looks like this. It's so cute, and I'll try to leave videos for all of the palettes that I've tried up there. So this palette I really did enjoy. I love this lime green shade. I love that you have the black and gray to work from here. This is supposed to be an eye safe glitter per their website. So I did use this one while I was doing the look, and I did like how it came out. But I think even if you ignore that shadow completely and just use the rest of them, the other colors in the palette are very, very pretty. I'm not sure that I necessarily would reach into this like more than all the other palettes that I'm going to talk about here shortly, because it is a smaller collection of colors, and I tend to like a little bit more than 6 in a palette in terms of like what I gravitate to most, which is why this kind of floated down towards the bottom. But I do think this was a really nice quality palette. Alright, the next one is the Colourpop Fade into Hue palette, and I really only got to use this a couple of times this month, which is why it's ranking a little bit lower. I also ranked it lower because of the pressed glitters. You have this one, this one, this one, and this one, and I'm so tired of seeing pressed glitters that I can't use on my eyes. Like, I would much rather a metallic or even a matte. Like, I would rather any other formula, even the matte with the little pressed glitters in it that nobody else likes. I don't mind those, but I don't want any more pressed glitters in my palette. So for that reason, this one ranks a little bit lower, but I do think the colors are nice and vibrant. I love the color gradients, and I love that you have some of these more like cool toned purples here to work off of, because I feel like a lot of the purple palettes that Colourpop has put out have been very like red warm toned color purple palettes. So that was part of what kind of tricked me into or convinced me to get this one. But I do think the colors are really pretty, so I am happy to have this one in my collection. The next one, this is the Nomad Cosmetics and America's Parks palette. I picked this palette up, number one, because I love Nomad's color stories. I love their quality of their products. But this whole row here just like caught me so off guard. This like bronze to purple duochrome. I mean, you can see it shifting in my lights here. It just, oh my Lanta, it looks so pretty. And then you have these really pretty, like the blue, you have this kind of hot green. This yellow is actually a duochrome with some pink shimmer in it, which I think looks so lovely. I did a couple looks with this palette this month, and I really like how they come out. Even the neutral looks that I've done with this palette, I've really enjoyed the quality of the collection here. So for me, I'm very happy to have picked this one up. and I'm very happy to keep it in my collection. But because it's more neutral leaning, and because there was some other stuff that really just stole my heart this month, it ranked a little bit lower on my list. The next one to talk about, this is a really old eyeshadow palette. I'm not sure if it's like 2 years old at this point, but I just picked it up from TJ Maxx, Marshalls, one of those. Marsh Max, we'll say. This is the Essence Never Give Up on Your Daydream palette, and it looks like this. It is 9 iridescent duochrome shimmery shades. I think it's so pretty for inner corner shades. I just love the texture. They're nice and soft and buttery. This whipped one is like a creamy orange soda kind of one. Oh my gosh, it looks so perfect on the inner corner. Like, I can't. So I really enjoy this palette, and I think it makes a great inner corner collection. But because it's not a standalone palette, I had to rank it a little bit lower, because some of these other palettes, they are like standalone, and they are like knock your socks off standalone. So this one ranked a little lower for that reason. The next one to talk about is the CColor Purple Rain palette, which looks like this, and I'll just pop it open so you can actually see the shades. I spent like a good week with this palette, and I really enjoyed all the looks that I got with it. I love how like cool toned these purples are. I even love this kind of like black gray and this sort of teal shade. I think these colors look really nice together. I love the quality of the shimmers in here. They're actually like very buttery and metallic, not quite like a JD Glow or Give Me Glow shade, but kind of heading in that direction, which I think is impressive since this palette was only about $10 shipped. So for me, I really enjoyed playing around with this one, and I will leave a video up in the cards where I did a look with this one, because I think it came out really pretty. This is where it started getting challenging, you guys, because all the ones from here on out were like, I kept grabbing for them and grabbing for them and grabbing for them over and over again, and the rest of the palettes I was supposed to be trying out this month kind of got pushed to the bottom of the line. So this is the ABH Norvina. I just picked this up. This was half price, so it was $30, and I had like $17 in rewards points at Ulta, so this ended up costing me $13 shipped to my house. I can do this for $13. So I really enjoy the quality of the blues in here, the greens, this kind of like chartreusey yellow. I really enjoy how grungy it is. Overall, the looks that I did with this, I was really happy with. I did get some staining, which I fully expected given that this is a pressed pigment palette, and I love the fact that there's no pressed glitters in here. So I really have my eye on the new one that they just released. What is it, Volume 5? But I don't know when I'm going to pick that one up. So for now, this one I've really been enjoying playing with. Alright, next we have one of the Sydney Grace and Temptalia palettes, and that is the Radiant Reflection palette. So this is the one that's basically like a metallic rainbow palette, and I do think that this color story is very pretty. I love the rosy shades here, and I love these blues, but when I look at it, I'm kind of just like, okay, it's a rainbow palette, and I think about this one compared to the other two palettes in the collection, and I gravitate towards those two a little bit more than I gravitate towards this one, even though the quality is stunning on this palette. So I'm not mad to have this in my collection, but I would say out of the three of them, it's the one I reach for the least, so that's why I ranked it a little bit lower this month. The next one to talk about is the ABH Cosmetics Blueberry Muffin palette. Of course, I had to get this one after Angelica Nikvis was talking so highly about it, and I was very happy with this palette. I ended up trying it a little bit, I think in May, but I had only gotten a chance to try it like once or twice, so it didn't feel fair to put it in that ranking since I had tried it so few times. So I put it into the June ranking, and I really like the color story. I love the blues that they picked out here. I love that you have some, you know, cool toned browns to pull in as well. They've got some really nice metallics here, which go from like champagne type colors to some blue colors. You've got this really pretty black with purple glitters in it. You've got this really pretty metallic navy. I love this palette and how deep and how light it goes. You've got so much variety in here. Every time I wear this palette, I just feel like the look came out so nice. So I've really been enjoying this palette a lot, and I've been reaching for it a lot this month. Alright, the next one is an oldie, but I was so excited to finally get my hands on this. This is the Pur Cosmetics and Raw Beauty Kristi palette. Initially I was not going to pick this palette up because I was like, girl, do you really need it? It's like half rainbow, half neutral, like that's not your vibe. And now recently I've been getting into half rainbow, half neutral palettes. So then I was like, alright, let's get it. So I found it on Mercari. I know this recently started showing up at TJ Maxx, so I'm sure people are selling it when they find it there. And I think it was like $14 or $15 at TJ Maxx, and I paid, I think, like $26, $28, something like that, shipped to get it to my house. Which for a palette that was originally $34, I was fine with. So this is the colorful side, and I did some looks using the purple, the blue, the teal, the green, the white, and this metallic shade, and I think they came out so pretty. This white is like, this is a no joke white. I'm very impressed with that white. And then it does also have this side, which I used this shade out of, but I think that's, oh, and this brown shade. I did do one neutral look with this side, and I do think the colors work really nicely together. I also really enjoy the packaging and how compact it is. Like, this would be great to take on vacation because you'd get colors, you'd get neutrals, so you could kind of dress it up, dress it down, without having to pack like an enormous palette, you know what I mean? So I really, really like this one. Alright, you guys. Top 4. So that was my 5th one. So top 4. The next is the Colourpop High Tide palette. This is one that I picked up when I was out with a couple of my friends. We went to Colourpop on the day this, or Colourpop, we went to Ulta on the day this launched, and I got the manager to get this out of the back for me, and I was so excited to be able to get it because it was the only palette they had in stock, like the only one physical copy of this palette they had in stock. I love the quality of this palette. I love this duochrome shade. It is so pretty. You've got one shade with a little bit of glitters in it, which I don't mind. The mattes all blend out really nicely, and I love how you have more of this like gray toned row, more of like a minty toned row, and then more like bluey toned. I love this palette. I think it's so pretty, and when I do looks with this palette, I'm always so happy with how they come out. So this one gets my number 4 spot this month. So this palette, I think, is just such a pretty color story. I really enjoy this quad right here, even this quad here. I mean, the whole palette is delightful, but I think most of my joy starts on this side and then moves this way. This navy, I don't know what it is. I've been becoming obsessed with navy eyeshadows recently. I just love how they look, and this quad kind of blended together looks so nice. Temptalia did such a good job of posting pictures of different color combinations within the palette. So she would post like this quad. Woo. Can you kind of see this quad? And then she'd show you this quad, and then she'd come back and show you this quad, and kind of suggest ways that you could create color stories out of the shadows. She would show like all of the top shades versus all the bottom shades. Very interesting to me, and I don't normally think about palettes or look at palettes like that, but now that she's done that, I'm like, I think I need to go back and look at some of my other palettes like that and see what really like sticks out to me about those palettes. But I really love how this came out. I really enjoyed playing with this multiple times throughout the month, so it got my number 3 spot. Alright, coming in at number 2 is the ABH Cosmetics Paris palette. This one came out towards the end of the month, but I picked it up and I've used pretty much every single shade in this palette. I think the only ones I haven't used were this shade. I think that's the only shade I haven't actually used. But this whole palette has such a lovely color story. Again, you've got this really pretty navy shade, which I'm really into the navies right now. I love how this silver and these like blue purple type shades go together nicely. I love the berries in combination with these blue and purple tones. I think you do still have enough like light tones here that you can make something a little bit more neutral if you're a little bit more intimidated by color. But this is a delightful color story. I love the quality. It was like, what, 15, 16 bucks, something like that. It's very affordable, hands down. That's why it moved all the way up to my number 2 spot this month. And if you've been keeping score, you already know what the number 1 spot is going to be, and it is the last palette out of the Sydney Grace trio, and this is the Quintesence palette. And I have this one in the light version. I think I have Quintescence and Radiant Reflection in light, and On the Horizon in deep, if I remember correctly. Oh my gosh. This color story. First of all, the black. amazing. These light tones here, amazing. This gives me Natasha Denona Soft Glam vibes without having to spend $65 on a palette. Love it. Live for it. This purpley blue shade and this kind of blue shade, oh my Lanta. So, so pretty. I love this red shade. This Milky Way is like this duochrome, like pinky, grayish, greenish kind of shade. It has such a funky vibe to it. I love using this palette. Out of everything that I've used this month, this is the one that, like, do you guys hear that? I think my husband's gonna come bursting through this floor. Out of everything that I picked out this month, this I think is the one that like stole my heart the most, and I cannot wait to keep playing with these palettes. Alright, you guys, so I think that was as brief as I could be for all these palettes. Like I said, most of them I really enjoyed. It was just a matter of figuring out which ones did my heart gravitate to the most, was I using the most, so that I could help kind of create a little order for you guys. Let me know in a comment down below, have you tried any of these palettes this month? What have you been using this month? I really would like to know. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!